have you come from today?
I don't need to answer your questions. No. Have I committed a crime?
Pardon?
Have I committed a crime?
No, just asking why you're travelling today.
Have I committed a
Oh,
crime?
you keep going.
Thank you.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
Is everyone agreed we are here to discuss our constitution and everything that's in it?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. First thing I'd like to relate to you is your position in the court, because people want to know. In 2008, I filed a case against the Governor of Western Australia for signing off on fraudulent legislation to change the electoral boundaries for the state of Western Australia, which you couldn't do, because the state constitution is a letters patent and can't be touched at all, even though 106 allows them to alter in accordance with the constitution. Unfortunately, it's a letters patent, can't be touched. They try to argue they can't. At the end of the day, when it went to court, I got stonewalled every time I turned around, and on the 23rd of June 2011, I went before Justice Corboy, and every time, because they ordered me to go for a means test, they wanted $31,000 costs off me. And I said, you're not getting it now, and not even if hell freezes over, you're not getting a cent. And I said, and every time the judge says something, are you talking to me, Wayne Kenneth Clue, the living, breathing man, or are you talking to the corporate fiction? I said, corporate fiction for a reason, and I'll come out with it. And the state solicitor said, he said, oh, you've got to get into the dock. I said, I'm not going to the dock, but I'll get in the witness box as long as you leave the gate open, because if you shut it, I'll kick it off its hinges, simple. So he said, could you hop in the witness box? I went there and the orderly came over and tried to kick the gate, close the gate. I kicked it back open again and said, go away, because I will hit you with it. And then the judge says, this solicitor's going to ask you a few questions. I said, well, is he going to ask Wayne Kenneth Clue, the living, breathing man, or is he going to ask the corporate fiction? And he just said to him, asking the question. So he asked me, I said, who are you addressing? The corporate fiction or the living, breathing man? And he started getting angry, so I kept pushing him and snapping back at him, until eventually, you mean the legal fiction, don't you? I said, well, thank you very much for that. For the record, he's just admitted my name in capital letters as a legal fiction. I said, do you have a written wetting contract between me and that legal fiction to say that I'm responsible for that? He said, no. I said, then you forced me to come before this court to represent that person. So for this exercise, I am the advocate for that person. And every other time you want to bring that person to court. And the judge says, but didn't you bring this action against the governor? I said, yes, I did. The living, breathing man, the governor, not the corporate fiction, legal fiction, which he's just explained to the court exists. And he looked at the state solicitor. The state solicitor looked at him and went like this. He said, don't do that to me. You, the idiot, did it. So that was the end of it for that. All the questions he asked me then were, where do you live? I said, in the house. Where's your house? I said, in Geraldton. Where do you get your food? Out of the cupboard. I just giving him just as stupid answers as he was asking questions. At the end, the ruling was, he couldn't touch me because I was not the legal fiction. Simple as that. And then the judge said to me, there's a different case, I'll go into that in a tick. He dismissed it after that. He said, you got any questions? I said, yeah. Chapter 3, section 76, page 795, the fourth paragraph of our constitution states, you tell me under what authority you're sitting in this court. He picked up all these books and said, have a nice day, it was entertaining, goodbye, and walked out. So that's the end of that. With the magistrate court in Geraldton recently, last year, The magistrate started calling me Mr. Glue. I said, that's not my name. My name is Wayne Kenneth of the Family Glue. I'm a living, breathing man, as you can tell. And he said, I can call you what you like. I said, then I won't answer you. As simple as that. I said, and the court's already ruled the name in capitals that you've got is a legal fiction. Well, why are you here? I said, to annoy you. And he says, oh, well, this court belongs to me. I said, no, it doesn't. I said, I'm an officer of the Crown, you are not. So how do you constitute the court? And we got in a big thing. He said, well, Mr. Glue. I said, I'm not Mr. Glue. And I said, what you need to understand, since you brought in this homosexual law, you can't use the gender-defining title on anybody who comes before this court, because that's 12 years imprisonment under your own act. So where do we go from here? He said, good point, Wayne, from now on you're Wayne. And that's how it went. So those points, anyway, getting to our Constitution and all this nice little stuff on here. Clause 5 of our Constitution puts every imperial law in this country and it must be complied with. So I put it up there. Clause 8, that's the interesting one. And I'll read it because people need to understand it's a very special little section. I've got it in there, but I've actually got it in the original Constitution I got years ago from the government. This is the Constitution that came from England, gazetted and passed, and it is the lawful one. The front of it, it has the 9 clauses. And clause 8 says, after the passing of this Act, the Colonial Boundaries Act 1895 shall not apply to any colony which becomes a state of the Commonwealth, but the Commonwealth shall be taken to be a self-governing colony for the purposes of that Act. So the Boundaries Act then applies to the Commonwealth. Who's the Commonwealth? Us. Not the government, us. Us the people. Now, the only boundary in the Constitution, I'll just draw it like this, it's not the scale, obviously there's not Australia, it's a 12 nautical mile boundary around this country. Now, the only boundary can be inside is land alienated from the Crown. Fee simple, your house block. In fee simple. It's alienated from the Crown, free of fee and fine. No rates, no taxes, no nothing. Now, they're claiming acts passed in the late 1800s allows them to put a tax on your land called rates. Yeah, well, 1923, Isaac Isaac said you can't. And I haven't got that case on here, but I have got it and I will get it to Nick. We've got it at home on the computer because it's been wiped off their computer. But where they come unstuck is, over your back, HCA 58 of 1998, Fiji versus the Northern Territory. It was a huge land claim made by the Aboriginal people in the Northern Territory, one of them who was Fiji. And they were defeated in this case simply because of the 1923 case where it explains that fee simple alienates your land from the Crown. It grants you every single aspect of ownership except the right to physically move it. Because you can't. You own to the centre of the earth and to the extremities of the atmosphere over the Commonwealth of Australia, which is the map of Australia, which is Commonwealth being us. We are the Commonwealth. So any grant of power to the Commonwealth is granted to us. To get that grant of power from us must be by referendum or by law. Well, how does it become law under our Constitution? You go to page 701 and it lists the Commonwealth. Quasi-sovereign, that's the people. Under that, the Constitution. Then federal government. Federal government consists of executive, legislature, and judiciary. I do it like this, it saves a lot of writing. The executive is the Governor General. He selects 10 from the lower house of Parliament, 8 from the upper. And they put legislation together along with the Attorney General, who is not a Member of Parliament. He's a legal practitioner of more than 5 years, but he's not allowed to be a lawyer. It states that in the Imperial Act. He can't be a lawyer because the King James Bible, our common law, condemns lawyers as liars, thieves, cheats, deceivers of the people, and they all are. Well, they try to get somewhere, and I'm not criticising anyone personally, so if you're a lawyer, you take it personal, don't. Now, the legislature, does that sit in Parliament all the time? No, it doesn't. When the executive has put legislation together, it calls the Parliament to order to debate the legislation in the House of Representatives. If they pass it, it goes to the upper house, which is your Senate. Your Senate weighs it up against the Constitution. If it passes, then it goes back to the Governor General, who signs on behalf of the Queen. That binds the Queen to a law made pursuant to our Constitution. It is a binding force, the Constitution. Contractual agreement. They can't step outside it no matter what they say or think. Now, the judicature is separated altogether. Well, it was. Mr. Cullerton, in his questions to the Senate, revealed the fact that they have a government council which makes the rules for the High Court. Well, that's the separation of powers there. They forgot it. Now, the same happens at state level. And before I go any further, if you want to become aware of that, of this, it's on page 701. I'll leave that up there. That'll give you that description. But section 61 to 68 lays out the legislative authority of the Governor General and how it works. Alright? Now you need to remember that because it's very important when you're dealing with federal politicians. They'll say, no, we're the executive government. No, sorry, you're not. You're just a parliament and your powers are limited by the Constitution. If you look at page 791, it says neither the federal nor the state parliament are sovereign bodies. They're simply legislatures with limited authority. If they attempt to pass a law in excess of that authority, the law is a nullity and affords no obedience. In other words, you just ignore them. Try it and they'll find you, so you've got to get around that bit. But anyway, you have the right to ignore them. And they're going to give it to you, and the states do the same. Now, before we go any further, I want to go back to the Boundaries Act, because it's very, very important, the application of this Act. I've been working on it for months. I've already attacked the State Premier of Western Australia, Mark McGowan, my little mate, not. And he made a declaration about 4 or 5 weeks ago that the states are sovereign and they can set up a hard boundary. Well, sorry Mark, you got it wrong, you can't even have a boundary because a border is a boundary. They have no power to set up a boundary. Not as the federal government. The Commonwealth does, we do. We have it, 12 nautical miles off the coast set up by our Constitution. The states are defined with definitive lines, but are not hard boundaries. They're not boundaries. They are just an imaginary line which depicts one state from the other. They try to say, no, that doesn't work that. Oh, yes, it does.
So they can't close the borders?
No, they can't close the borders, and they can't quarantine anybody either, because that's the federal government's. And that's under section 69. And I'll read it to you because that's an interesting section. And you need to become aware of this because little Mark McGowan and then they all think they can do whatever they like, which, sorry, you can't.
I think that didn't the writers of the Constitution give them the power to quarantine an individual person or an individual animal if they've got a notifiable disease, because they felt, the writers of the Constitution felt, that bureaucracy from Canberra would be too cumbersome and it would be better if the states held that little power.
Yeah, but they can't because of
That's
section
what it said,
60.
no, the writers of the Constitution said that. I'm sorry, I haven't got the...
No, I understand what you're talking about, but it's been tested already, and because it was removed from the states at Federation, they can't go back and pick it up. They'd have to go through federal parliament to get permission to do it. They can quarantine anybody coming in the states
Yeah,
from overseas,
Yeah.
but the states can't do it.
the states can only do it if you've got...
No, the states can
Oh,
never do it.
Not even if you're sick?
No.
Oh, I thought they couldn't quarantine people who weren't sick.
No, they can't quarantine anybody. The states have taken off. I'll read it to you. On a date or dates to be proclaimed by the Governor-General after the establishment of the Commonwealth, the following departments of the public service in each state shall become transferred to the Commonwealth. Post, telegraphs and telephones, naval and military defence, that's 68 of the Constitution, it goes to the Governor-General. Lighthouses, light ships, beacons and buoys, and quarantine. The states can't get involved in any quarantine. I understand what you said because I've read it and I understand where you're coming from, but it's wiped out because of that.
So that was
It has to be legislation from the federal parliament.
So that was only a discussion they were having. And,
Yeah.
right, that, I've got that
Yeah.
right.
Yes,
Is it appropriate to ask a question now?
yeah.
Okay. What about the new legislation that they've passed for people to visit the elderly in aged care homes? Unless you have a vaccination, you can't see them. They've passed this now, so
No, they didn't.
yeah,
I'll tell you why they didn't.
They
They
did
passed
in Western
rules
Australia.
and regulations
right.
because the parliament's been sitting with 9 people, none of which are in the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Councils. You tell me how they do that, and how do they sit with the national executive?
So what do we do about it? Because they're not allowing us into the aged care here now.
I understand exactly what you're doing. You're going to have to get together with a large bunch of people and go to your local MP and say, I want access to them.
Excellent.
I've actually written to the home that my mum's in.
Yep.
I'm allowed to take her out of the home and within the population that's got diseases.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Rather than have the vaccine, take her out.
Well, they won't let us take her out.
Well, that's locking up people.
I know, that's what's happened. She's isolated and she's...
Everything that they're doing in relation to the COVID virus is unlawful. If they were really worried about it, they would have stopped the planes flying in the beginning of last year because they knew it was coming.
Yes, thank you.
And why did they allow them to come back? Because they're stupid.
No, because this is a pandemic. But
Well,
anyway.
no, they wanted a pandemic so they could get away with half the stuff they're
So the
doing.
answer
Yeah.
to get access to the homes for the aged
Is
people
to
is
go
what?
to the MP and say, you get it, you're representing me, you make them abide by the law because you don't have any laws, you've got rules.
So
And
you've
those
got to
rules
use
are
the
not applicable.
person that you elected. Go and see them, ask for it.
Thank
Tell them
you
to
very
do
much.
it.
I'll put you up.
All right, so your boundaries then come into play in another thing. This is the Constitution of Western Australia, 1889. I got it years ago off Governor Kyle, and he gave me a big heap of other acts. And this was put in place with a letters patent on the 29th of October 1900 by Queen Victoria. So, under the provisions of 106, 107 and 108 of the Constitution, this is locked in, subject to the Commonwealth Constitution. This has electoral boundaries in it. That's why I took the governor to court. But then you go back to your Boundaries Act. Where's the problem? States can't have boundaries. So all the electoral districts in this state are invalid.
Whoa!
Every single one since 1901. They can lie, they can cheat, they can tell every bit of crap they like, but those boundaries can't apply. It was removed from them. But they can't have it. So how do they operate? Not under federal boundaries because they can't set electoral boundaries either. Read section 7 through 23 of the Constitution and you'll find out it lays out how you have an election. The governors of the states have a nice little puddle of people, not from any political party, so if you're politically party minded you're wrong. They have to be selected from the general public. They can be from anywhere in this state. We're allowed, I believe, when given our head of population, it states that in the Constitution when you read chapter 1 and 2, 28 for our state parliament. But I wouldn't say that's gospel, because the population goes up, they can increase. It's per head of population, there's so many people. Now, they have to be selected for your legislative assembly and legislative council from that pool of voters, and you can, in accordance with section 8 of the Constitution, you can vote for one person once. Well, where does your preference voting come from? It's nonsense. Treason, lies and fraud. Now the federal level, it's even better. Your Senate was 6, it's now 12. But they can't count, because to me you got 6 states, 12 sixes are 72, well we got 76. Because we got where was the referendums on the 123 to separate an area of land off the states? Off the South Australia to create the Northern Territory under 123, and then under 128 for approval from the rest of the states to do it. There wasn't one. ACT, exactly the same. They're saying, oh yes, but we've got to have the seat of power inside the state of Western Australia, inside the state of New South Wales, more than 100 miles from Sydney, and they've got it. But it can't be separated. Read 125 of the Constitution, it says you've got to do it that way. But it goes even better than that, because you can't have a Canberra Parliament, they've got one. So ACT and Northern Territory got 2 senators each. Why? If they were lawful, they'd have the same number as the states. But they're not lawful. And a quorum is 19 senators. They don't have those either, never had them. They don't bother to turn up. You look at half the speeches, there's 2 or 3 people there talking. Now, how is your federal parliament set up? And this is one where people continually argue with each other. They can argue all they like, but go back to your Constitution. Your elections are taken state by state. The governor sets up the pool of people. They all go to Parliament and they represent the 6 states. There is no, the seat of Parliament is where the Parliament sits. There is no federal government per se. It is a 3 system of federal governance. You can understand this, because without the 6 states represented, there is no federal parliament. There's none. It must be equal representation according to the Constitution. Now they're trying to say, no, we can do whatever we like. No, you can't. We got a little book that says, pull your head in, do what we tell you. And nobody will bother to enforce it. I'm trying, I'm having fun, it's good fun. You've got to try it. So your parliament, how it exists at present, doesn't exist. Can they have electoral boundaries? No. No, they can't. Australian Electoral Act. Australian, that should be E, it's alright. Electoral Commission. Lives in a paddock at Lakes Entrance in Victoria. I've got a friend who lives down the road, it's a vacant paddock. That's their address, the AEC. Australian Electoral Commission. Aren't they nice? There's only one problem with it. They can't have it. You can't have elections under federal legislation. The elections must be under section 7 through 23 of the Constitution. And they consistently, you'll get arguments, you get fined for not voting. All right, now, how good is your voting? You've got to number them in line. Then you've got political parties, then you've got individuals. You've got to vote for the whole 8, according to them, under their silly act. you've got to vote for the political parties above the line, 6 of them. That's 8. And that one is 12. Well, if you believe that, you believe in fairies and honest politicians, neither exists. Sorry, but you can only vote for one person once for the Senate, one person once for the House of Representatives. Go back to section 7 through 23. Section 8 is very, very clear. You vote once for one person. So what parliament do we have in Canberra? None. None of it. But it's a body corporate.
Yes.
It was set up in 1973 by Gough Whitlam and his merry men. Registration number 0000805157, that's correct, that's it. On the US Securities Exchange Commission. That's the company. Underneath that company,
Registered in USA.
Is that a 7 on the end?
that,
Up the number, up the top.
Yes,
Right,
it is.
7, 5, 1 or 7, 1?
7. 7 on the end.
5 1,
5-7.
5-7, sorry, yeah, I got a little bit carried away. Good, thanks. Trina's company, C, in Delaware. And that trades in 18 companies. And if you go on Larry Hannigan's site, we gave all the things to him. You can download it from there because it's too hard. We can't, they won't let us on YouTube direct. So we go through other people. Those 18 companies are registered with Dun & Bradstreet. They own every single thing inside the Commonwealth of Australia. Even you, your kids, your working ability, your houses, every single thing, they own it according to these companies. Now, these companies sit in the District of Columbia. That's what Trump's trying to break up, this little maggot system here. And he will because he can. But we also found out, with a little bit of poking, that they're all registered under Foreign Agents Act in America. So we sent a nice little note saying, these nice little people, this thing deciding to go walkabout for some unknown reason, so we'll put the brakes on, hopefully they work. Not built by the politicians, so it'll be all right. We found out that they have to register as a foreign agent as a corporate government of any country. And they're all there, all the listings, you can look up the act. It's called the Foreign Agents Registration Act of America. And it's a good act to read, and you see how many times they've breached it. And the penalties are $1 million for each person and or 30 years in prison. I'll give them something to think about, won't it? Nice little fat headache. Now they've known for years, they've been bending the rule, yes?
Sorry to interrupt, Wayne.
No, you're not.
While you're talking about corporations, is the police department a foreign corporation?
The police department is a registered company in Delaware under these 18 companies.
Oh, I see.
So they actually have no lawful right to exist. They don't come near me. I'm on their computer. It says they're only allowed to pull me over for a serious issue. They're not allowed to hold a conversation with me. And under no circumstance are they allowed to discuss the law and the Constitution. I guess they're just a little bit worried. But at the end of the day, they're unlawful.
Okay.
And you look at their badge, it's got the Roman wreath behind the inverted pentagram, and on the top it's got a badge with the Roman wreath either side of it. Who are they working for?
Are they aware of it?
Yeah, of course they are. I've told them enough times. It's under the Uni-Droit Treaty.
But the young guys that put their hand up and the young women put their hand up and all want to be part of it, do they actually know what they're really putting their hand up?
No. That's the unfortunate thing. I had 2 friends, both of them were sergeants. Both used to come to my place. I used to teach them the Constitution. They used to go back and tell their bosses. They got peeved off with me. One was the sergeant at Mount Barker at present.
Oh, is it?
Colin. He loves me. He hasn't spoken to me since he was told not to about 9 years ago. The other one told me to get off and resign. But the thing is, they're blocking them finding out the truth.
Of course.
But the problem we have is the state government is a registered company. So it's a subsidiary company of the Commonwealth of Australia, registered to the US Securities Exchange Commission through their LLC trading company. Now, people sit down, you tell them, and it's like they go dumb. They don't want to know. It's just too much information that we can't digest at this time. So I'm trying to keep it less technical so people can think. Yes, you got a question?
Yeah, are they part of the Illuminati, would you say?
No, the Illuminati is above the Unidroit, which is run from here under the Unidroit Treaty, which Gough Whitlam signed without our permission in 1973. When he came back to Australia, he introduced over 300 new acts. One of them was the Royal Styles and Titles Act, which he had no authority to do. And then they present us with Australia Act. Section 8 and 9 of that Act says Australia and New Zealand cannot change or have law in relation to the Royal Style and Title of the Queen because of the constitutional constraints. So they got a problem with it. And the Queen told them in 1953 they couldn't. Every other part of the British Empire could, but Australia couldn't because of the constitutional constraints. No crown, no authority. You take it out, take the Queen out, it's gone. Everything operates under the authority of the Crown. And we've got judges sitting in our court. The female judge a few weeks ago in relation to Rod Cullison ruled that she didn't have to swear the oath of allegiance because that was only for both houses of the federal parliament. She obviously read section 42 of the Constitution, which states that, but she forgot about reading section 72, which says all judges are selected by, for the federal court and the high court, are selected by the Governor-General, and they must swear the oath of allegiance before they swear their oath of office.
Wow.
But then, in the annotated Constitution, it says this section does not, by necessity, apply to the states. Why? Because the states have got their own little special document. And it says that in the Constitution. They have a letters patent putting in place the office of Governor for the states. And that letters patent says the Governor of the state shall select all judges and they will swear the oath of allegiance before swearing their oath of office. Then it goes on, it says the Governor is the highest authority in government in the state and must be obeyed. Must be obeyed. Why isn't he? Because he is just a lackey employed by the Parliament to look nice and do nothing. And Kim Beazley, nice little specimen, I wouldn't let him do anything. But at the end of the day, it applies at state level, they have to. Now, in relation to your magistrates court, there's no such thing. No, we got them, but they're not lawful, none of them. They are a court of petty sessions established under imperial law. Go look it up, it's called Local Courts Act.
Yeah.
It's imperial law. I've got it at home. The last time it was reviewed here was 1906. It was removed in 2004. Yes, when they produced under the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, they changed it from the Local Court Act to the Magistrates Court Act of 2004.
So how do you challenge it?
I did. I challenged it because section 35 says prerogative writs of mandamus prohibition satori cannot be issued against officers of this court. And I challenged it and said 75.5 of the Constitution says prerogative writs of mandamus prohibition satori and habeas corpus can be issued against any person exercising authority, and it commands them to stop doing what they're doing or to do something that they're refusing to do, and they just ignore it. The problem is, we don't have any lawful courts. Go look at your board in the magistrate, get a decision of a court and have a look at it. What does it say? Quorum. What's a quorum? A quorum is an unelected judge, a person impersonating a judge who isn't one. It's Latin.
Say that again?
A quorum is a person impersonating a judge who isn't one. Magistrates are quorums. They can't be lawful because under the Local Courts Act, the magistrate is a stipendiary magistrate. He is a justice of the peace with more than 5 years service in a legal profession, so he can step up and administer the law. What's his job? Petty sessions. So what that means, and it was like that when I joined the police force in 1975, you fronted up the magistrate for drunk, swearing, urinating in public, all those things. They're petty sessions. If you plead guilty, he could issue the penalty according to law, but he sat with another JP. And if you remember back, you didn't have registrars, you had clerks of court and deputy clerk. They were all justices of the peace. That was their requirement. And it's under imperial law, the Local Courts Act. Where is it? It's gone. Oh, they're real smart. But then you look at the oath in 2004 Magistrate Court Act, they added it in 2005, because with the Oath Affidavits and Statutory Declarations Act, they removed Schedule E from the state constitution, which was the oath of allegiance required to be a magistrate. And they replaced it with, well, I said to the magistrate in Geraldton last year, your oath was, I, Chris Milosevic, do solemnly swear I will serve the state and the people of Western Australia. So you're serving the state and the state, are you? What do you mean by that? I said, well, the people are the state. And that's established under 106, 107, 108 and 109 of our Constitution. Your state is established under Section 8 of the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act. So which one are you serving? I can tell you, your own. Your corporate state. And you're trying to pretend that you're a lawfully established magistrate. I said, I tell you, your problem, you're a traitor. And under Section 44 of the Constitution, you're now attainted of treason. He said, that's your opinion. I said, no, I am a lawfully sworn officer of the Crown. I have to, by law, reveal a criminal offence. The criminal offence I'm revealing is you're a traitor. And you can no longer sit in this court. And it was about an hour before he's due to fold up, and he goes like this to me. Looks at the clock. And then back he said, you got anything else to add? I said, yeah, you've got no jurisdiction. He did it for an hour, and then he got up and he said it's adjourned till tomorrow. So the half-day trial went on to the second day, ended up 4 days, and he stormed out, ran out of the court, telling the council couldn't issue the order to remove my property off my land, and he couldn't issue the order to seize the property. But they already transferred it, because their view of fee simple is you own all aspects of your land, but the Crown still owns it, and they're the Crown. Well, since when does a bush turkey wear a crown and run around in the gown claiming to be the Queen? Because there ain't no other Queen of Australia. The bush turkey, it's nonsense. So I'm still in the fight with them, but don't worry about that, I'm having fun with it.